I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Good evening, curling fans. Welcome to continuing coverage of the Henderson Medal Fall Classic presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. An exciting and intriguing matchup we are featuring here tonight between Team Brad Gushue against Team Scott Howard. My name is Darnell Duff. We'll have the pleasure to be joined as well by Dave Schmel. And Dave, as I was mentioning, an intriguing matchup, an exciting one, and looking forward to seeing what team can get off to a good start. Of course, this is Brad Gushue's first game as he got the bye. This is Howard's second game of the day. They beat Takumi Maeda earlier today. They scored 4 in the 6, and they stole 5 in the 7 to run away with that game. So that was an instance of finding out the ice early, clearly playing with confidence, but now you're going up against one of the kings in the curling world. So this will certainly test Team Howard to the best of their abilities.
Well, absolutely, Darnell. We do have Team Gushue here, of course, the 6-time Brier champion, always a force to be reckoned with. And playing, it appears, with 3 tonight. It looks like Adam Casey has not yet joined the team, and do believe he's joining later on in this weekend. But it's definitely going to be very interesting. It's, like you said, Team Scott Howard had a very good game to start their spiel. So it's going to be fun to see how this one works out.
As Tim March with his first rock of the game gets things underway, and that leads us off to Jeff Walker. 5 World Championship appearances, 2 World Junior Championships as well. Also won the Pan Continental Championship in 22 and 23. A three-peat of Brier Championships in a row, as this one is being curled at the end by Mark Nichols. As Dave just mentioned, it appears that Team Gushue is playing as a 3. We expected Adam Casey to be with this foursome, but does not appear to be the case, at least in this one. But a good start from Jeff Walker there, Dave, to get things underway for Gushue.
Absolutely, and you always want to see how both teams are going to take it in the early going. Often you'll see that it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game, and both teams want to make sure they feel comfortable not getting too involved too quickly.
As Tim March delivers his second, Jason and Matt Cam providing the light little brush on there, trying to get it inside the rings. It looks like it'll be just short of the rings. And so far this season, Dave, Team Howard has struggled. They went 1-4 at the AMJ Campbell Shorty Jenkins Classic, and then they went 1-3 at the Hearing Life Tour Challenge Tier 2. So some struggles for this team. A great start this morning with that huge win against Team Maeda, and a great opportunity to try and build some confidence and get off on the right foot going up against one of the best teams around the world.
Yeah, certainly not the start to the season that Team Scott Howard would like, but it's I believe the second full year together with him as the skip, and it's always a bit of a process to get things together, and they're gelling together as a team because it is a slightly different team this year, and I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, they did. They certainly did put together some pretty good performances last year at the Montana's Brier in Regina. They went 3-5, but did lose a 1-point game against Team Dunstone. So played some pretty decent curling as Jason Cam gets ready to deliver second rocks to in our feature match, which, as mentioned, is Team Gushue against Team Howard. Looking to get some curl off here, perhaps hit and roll a little bit inside, but it'll hit the outside and roll out. Gushue continues to sit one and looking for, it appears anyways, Dave, to head to the wings and once again sit two as Jeff Walker will deliver his third rock.
Yeah, definitely a very low-risk scenario right now because they do have those two Howard guards to contend with, but very early in the end, very content to just keep the pressure on Team Howard and make them make the first move.
And Dave, do you think, that safety net perhaps playing a little safe to start is because it is their first match of this tournament? Of course, we know it rolls through Monday, but this is game number 1 for Team Gushue. So I think a big thing is just trying to find out the ice and find out which this team is really good at doing, but just seeing how everything is working early in this match.
I think that's absolutely the case, Darnell. It's your first time out on the ice. You want to make sure that you have a good feel for it. Now, I'm sure they've watched some of the other stones go down, and they've had, of course, a 10-minute practice before the game, but you never know till you really get out there how things are going to go. And a nice hit there.
Yeah, that was an opportunity for Jason Cam to try and hit and flop under, which would have put them in a good spot behind two of their own guards, but now it allows Team Gushue to try and go on the offense a little bit here with the first rock coming from Mark Nichols. It'll be a 3 for Jeff, 3 for Mark, and then 2 for Gushue. So a little bit of a safe start, Dave, but now Mark has an opportunity to put on the foot on the gas pedal a bit here.
Yeah, with that last hit, and now elevates the stones one further up in the house, which gives them an opportunity to roll a little bit higher to be in a more advantageous position, although this one is hanging on the outside.
Now it's interesting, Dave. Every single hit attempt, when the rock has been placed on the outside 12 on the right side there, they've been floating out. So it's interesting to see if maybe they're off the broom a little bit, or if it's just maybe the ice isn't curling as much as they would have thought it would to start this match.
Yes, I had the opportunity to call a couple games earlier and didn't see that so much, but we were on a different sheet, of course. So be something to keep an eye on for sure.
So Matt Cam, 2010 Canada Cup finalist and a 2011 Canadian junior silver medalist, of course, won the province of Ontario last year with his first. Tim March will get on that one. One of the heavier sweepers. Impressive what he can do to a rock to hold her, to make it curl. That one will float into the open, but not a bad start from Matt Cam to get himself into this match early.
Absolutely a good shot here. Now we're going to see another pop and flop attempt trying to come back under. Now, Gushue obviously is only going to have one in the rings after this, so want to leave your possibilities open to make sure you can still get to a blank here. Don't want to get forced right in the early going.
On and off here for Jeff Walker. Looking for that inside flop, going to hit the guard instead. That one not even close. Perhaps that one, maybe the weight was down, or that one curled a little bit more because it was a little bit closer to the center line. But now an opportunity for Team Howard to go top 8 and set the tempo here as we approach the second half of this end.
No, I like the call to come top 8 here. It's aggressive, but without getting too deep into things.
So Matt Cam with his second and final rock of the first end here in the feature match of the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. The upset of the day came this morning when Team Kioti was taken down by Team Sandy McEwen. McEwen then dropped their second game against Team Dropkin 8-1, but still certainly a notable win and a huge win to take down one of the best in the country, as this one appears to be sliding well back.
Absolutely the case, as that one does drift a little bit well further than they would have liked. That McEwen game, I had the call on that as well, and it really was just a situation where the McEwen rink was firing on most, if not all, cylinders, and it just wasn't all there for Kioti's squad that morning, and it was just some draws that were left in bad places and lots of half shots. And to their credit, Team McEwen took advantage of pretty much every one of them and made the champion pay.
Another opportunity there for Mark Nichols to hit and flop under, which was not the case. And now Team Scott Howard will look to make the exact same shot, get it under center, and then force Gushue to make a nice one with his first here in the first end of our feature matchup tonight.
So Scott Howard, of course, the son of legendary curler Glenn Howard, his second year skipping in this team on his own.
Had a chance to chat with Glenn not too long ago on my podcast, and what a great man he is. He's what an awesome story. I caught him just before he was heading to the golf course as Tim March gets on this one. Now a little light brush. This one looks like it could be good. Will they get the flop under? He will, but he'll escape and flop a little bit too far as that one overcurled just a hair. And now Gushue appears as if he wants to go top four and force Scott Howard to make a dandy on his last.
Yeah, it's Gushue's going to take an opportunity here to see if he can't generate himself a skips deuce. No harm here, because if not, he's certainly going to get forced. So you might as well try to go for the gusto at this point.
One of the important things, I think, in my opinion anyways, Dave, for Team Howard, if they want to have success in this match, they can't get down too much too early, because when you do against a world-class team like Gushue, it is very, very tough to make any sort of comeback.
That's true. Really, and oftentimes a lead of only 2 or 3 stones is enough for Gushue to run with it and just put the game away. Now this one is coming up late, and it's going to wreck on the guard. Now, if they can get it on the rings, they do, but I don't know if there's going to be any possibility here. So it's going to give Scott Howard an opportunity to come just to the top of the button under cover and make that force all the more difficult.
But as you mentioned, whatever happens with Scott Howard's rock, even if he puts this in a perfect position, Gushue will have an opportunity on his last. But you got to commend Scott Howard here. Only, not giving up much to his opponent, making the shots. And now this is an important one for Howard to put the pressure on Gushue, whose team has missed a few shots. Of course, this is their first game and trying to figure out the ice. And sometimes that takes a few ends. And if Howard, who played this morning, has a better feeling for the ice already, can try to capitalize early and get off on a good foot.
Absolutely. He's going to need a good one here, and let's see if the boys can put it where it has to be.
This one appears to be floating. Now it's coming down, and there goes Tim, lays down the brush. Can they get this in the perfect spot? That is the question. What will they leave Brad Gushue? This one needs to curl. Jason Cam trying to get it to curl a little bit. It will come up short of the 4-foot, sits in the top 8, which will allow Team Gushue. All you have to do is hit the 4-foot, and you'll get your 1 point to kick off this match.
And into the draw the button to start this match, Brad was able to put it basically right on the pin. Now that was going in the opposite direction, but he did seem to have his draw weight down at that point.
And it's not too often, Dave, that you say Brad Gushue missed 2 shots in a row. He missed his last. I don't expect him to miss this one. Anything can happen as Brad Gushue delivers that one. Jeff Walker with the brush, calling the line is Mark Nichols, the final rock of the first end for Brad Gushue at the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic, presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. A light brush, which is always a good thing. Just needs 4 foot. He'll elect to take it back to the back green, and that will be enough. 1-4 Gushue. After one end, Team Gushue leads Team Howard 1-0 in continuing coverage of the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario.
Don't forget your brooms.
Yep, you got it.
Come on up. Okay, well, what do you got? You got one, you got two, you got...
Just one little, please.
You make moments like these possible.
Handcrafted in Canada, Hardline's ice pad has revolutionized curling for over a decade. Engineered with top-tier precision and durability, it is backed by an unmatched 10-year warranty. Designed for curlers at all levels to sweep effortlessly with maximum efficiency, it is trusted by the world's best curlers, including Olympic and world champions. It is quite simply the best broom in the game. Hardline, join the revolution.
Welcome back to continuing day one coverage at the YNCU Curling Center. This is the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario, playing for a purse of $100,000. Our feature matchup here live on Curling Stadium. Brad Gushue gets one in the first end, which will allow Tim March to deliver his second rock. Team Howard has hammer. You're hanging out with Darnell Duff as well as Dave Schmel in continuing coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a bit of a choppy first end for Team Gushue. A few half shots here and there, a couple misses, and it led to them being forced, but the skipper was able to put one where it needed to be to make sure they got their single. And now we'll see what Scott Howard can do with the hammer.
No doubt Team Gushue will be looking to force Howard as tough as he can, as with his rock, Jeff Howard is wanting the freeze. Doesn't quite get that, an under curl and perhaps a little bit too much weight, which will allow Scott Howard, he looks like he wants to freeze on the inside. And as I mentioned, Dave, a tough start to the season for Team Howard, a 1-4 performance at the Shorty Jenkins Classic, and then a 1-3 performance at the Hearing Life Tour Challenge Tier 2, but a dominating performance today when they scored 9 points in a 2-end span, combined between N6 and 7. And when you're going up against a world-class team, against Brad Gushue, everybody gets up when you're playing against an all-star team, and that's what Team Gushue is. So what a great opportunity it is for Team Scott Howard. Still very early in the season, but a great chance to build some momentum, feel that confidence, get the feel for the ice, and try and do something special here tonight.
Oh, sure. Everybody absolutely always feels a little bit of extra juice when you're playing against the best, and that radiates all the way down to the club level. I know I get a little bit more excited when I'm playing against my best peers. I'm sure these guys do too.
Jeff Walker will deliver. Mark Nichols has mentioned this Gushue team playing just with 3, waiting the arrival of Brendan Botcher. That was a blockbuster edition. We'll chat about that certainly moving forward into the program, as it looks like Walker's looking for a little bit of hit and trap in and move that green back into the behind the button.
Absolutely was certainly news that rocked the curling world to hear of the big changes on the Gushue rink, dropping E.J. Harden and picking up Brendan Botcher, the Brier champion skip in his own right.
Jason
joining
Cam
forces
up
with
the
others.
What do you think about that addition quickly, Dave? Brendan Botcher being added to Team Gushue. Are you a fan? What were your thoughts when you first saw it, as we just saw Jason Cam miss that run back? That was the call from his skip, Scott Howard.
Well, I think it's obviously a blockbuster for sure, and it's going to be interesting to see how the team dynamic works, because you're adding another large personality to a team where Brad Gushue is admittedly a very high energy and demanding skip. So that team dynamic's going to be interesting.
I don't think there's going to be a problem. I think Brendan Botcher understands the opportunity, an opportunity of a lifetime to play on such an incredible curling team in Brad Gushue. So I think Brendan Botcher is going to fit in just perfectly, a world-class curler, as Mark Nichols delivers that one to the just outside of the rings. Sitting one is Gushue. He's up 1-0 in the second end of this feature match against Team Scott Howard. And keep in mind, folks, you are on Curling Stadium and you can tune into every single game, which is fantastic. So if you're a curling fan, you're set up for a fantastic weekend live from the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic, presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario, as Jason Cam gets set to deliver his final rock of this second end. Looking for a run back, it appears, and perhaps a double to get some rocks going and remove that Gushue shot stone off of the side of the button.
Yeah, they had to make some granite move here with this one. And this is going to come out with all due alacrity.
And there goes Tim March on and off. Matt Cam waiting, needing a little bit of curl. It does appear. Let's see what happens out of this one. He will eliminate one rock, and the side of the Gushue will go to the side of the 8, but Gushue still does sit one without hammer here in the second end.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how Gushue wants to play this, if he wants to play for the force or without any guards in play. It's going to be difficult to get a steal, so I suspect he's just going to try to keep the rings pretty well spread here.
And I think if that is the call, if you're looking to play a force, I think you're just fine if you're Team Gushue. While you find your way with this ice, once you get it down pat, you just want to keep it close. This Gushue team has been known to put up bundles in ends, which of course Team Howard is going to have to hold them back if they want to have any success. But right now it is Team Gushue sitting 1, 2, and 3. An opportunity for Matt Cam as he delivers his first rock here in the second end to make a couple of yellows eliminate out of the rocks, and perhaps maybe a double later in the end for Team Howard. Jason Cam all over that one. Once again, it is just over curling. And that one will leave the rings, only is able to get one yellow out of the rings. So it still remains Gushue sitting 2, and it looks like he's just wanting one on the outside opposite in the 8-4, or will he try and go to the offensive a little bit and put up a guard? That is the question, as Team Gushue leads Team Scott Howard 1-0 in second end play here at the YNCU Center. And it does appear that the Team Gushue will be going to the offensive here a little bit, as Mark Nichols will deliver a guard, I do believe, in the top 12 or just higher than the top 12, with Jeff Walker providing the brush. Brad Gushue signaling that he wants it just top 12. Weight looks good. If anything, just a touch heavy as Walker just stares on. This one does appear to be sliding a little bit further than they would have wanted to, as that one is just grouped together, and that's will be a pretty routine double, and perhaps even slide over into the corner if you're Team Scott Howard. But it appears that Howard will flag down Matthew Cam to get his thoughts on the upcoming shot, which is a big shot here in the back end of this second end in the feature matchup between Team Gushue and Team Scott Howard.
Yeah, definitely want to make sure you take your time here and make sure you have it lined up the way you want to. But should certainly no problem getting the double to go. It's just a question whether you can make all three move, really.
And you can tell, Dave, Team Gushue just not sharp. A little bit of an uncharacteristic miss from Mark Nichols there. And now Matt Cam with the delivery, a big shot here in the second end. Will he make the double? He will indeed. Will he make the triple? Yes, indeed. Matt Cam, what a dandy. For Cam there, eliminates any sort of pressure that Team Howard was feeling, as we'll take a look back at that one. An absolute peach of a shot from Matt Cam. 1, 2, 3, gone, bye-bye. A beautiful triple gets Team Howard out of any trouble.
Absolutely, a very nice shot there.
So now I guess, Dave, we can expect a pretty clean and simple end the rest of the way, as we're now entering skip stones with Brad Gushue's first from the hack. Mark Nichols holding the broom. Jeff Walker will provide the brush.
Yeah, certainly expect them to run up and down at this point.
Expect this one just on the beak, and that is the case. So now Howard will head right back, and we should be seeing a blank opportunity in just a shot here. But what a great shot it was from Matt Cam to get his team out of trouble. Matt, a fantastic curler, and a big shot from him to give his team a chance to get a blank and retain hammer heading into the third end against one of the best teams in the world.
No, they were certainly lined up nicely, but of course you had to execute it, and he did it, and then brought it with a lot of weight, probably about a 6 or 6.5 second rock. So, and with how springy these stones have been thus far, no surprise that they were able to get them to all clear the rings.
That one just has an inch or two of chap to the inside. Other than that, all good for Scott Howard for his first, and Brad Gushue will deliver his last. And Dave, where does Gushue want this to roll to perhaps make it the toughest possible shot for the blank for Scott Howard?
Well, if it's me right now, if I'm Brad Gushue, I saw my team miss one on the wings. I'd leave it on the wings.
Jeff Walker, just a little brush. This looks like it's going to be on the beak, or perhaps just a little chap to the wings. Indeed it is. So now Scott Howard, an opportunity. A hit and roll out for a blank. And a big shot at this stature of the game. I know this is a routine shot, Dave, and very makeable, but you still have to make it. And that would certainly be a good one for Howard, who just a few shots ago looked like at best they were going to be able to get one in this end.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And, Scott Howard just has to lean into this shot and make sure he makes it. It's always interesting out in the wings, and we haven't been out this way with this turn yet. So we'll see that if he can execute the blank.
Scott Howard with the final rock of the second end here. With hammer, an opportunity to hit and roll out for the blank. He will do that. After two ends, 1-0 for Team Gushue over Team Scott Howard, in continuing coverage of the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic, live from the YNCU Curling Center, presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games, and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Matthew Cam gets Team Howard out of a jam with a beautiful triple in the late stages of the second end. Scott Howard finishes off with a hit and rollout. And heading into the third end as we welcome you back to the YNCU Curling Center for continuing coverage of the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. Pleased to be joined by Dave Schmel. My name is Darnell Duff. And Dave, we've seen some shots missed for both of these teams, but Matt Cam certainly with the shot of the game so far with that beautiful triple.
Absolutely. That triple really got his team out of dodge there, and we're going to get to see it one more time. It was delivered with great weight, and the brushing was just managed perfectly. And you see it go 1, 2, 3. Thank you, ma'am. We're all gone.
Big shout out to our production team, which includes Ryan Jakes tonight, as we play the third end here and continuing coverage. First day coverage. This tournament runs until Monday, so stay tuned to Curling Stadium all weekend long for live coverage of this tournament that features $100,000 prize purse, as this one looks to appear to be a freeze on top of that yellow. And it looks like for the first time in this game, perhaps, Dave, we got something going here, and this both teams are ready to start firing things up as Gushue will look to wrap another one around his high guard there on top of the green onto the forefoot.
Yeah, both teams have had a chance to feel things out a little bit, and now Gushue feels a little bit more comfortable. He's going to come on in here, and he'll lie second and third without hammer, which is a good place to be, controlling those stones in front of the tee line.
Jeff Walker with the delivery, Mark Nichols with the brush. Team Gushue this year, 2 second-place finishes at the Hearing Life Tour Challenge when they lost to Bruce Mallett. Also second place at the PointsBet Invitational. A third-place finish at the Stu Sells Oakville Tankard, as that one comes up just a little bit short and will sit in the top 12. Now, Dave, as we're looking at the sheet, what does Team Howard do now, trailing by 1 early in the third end here?
Well, with that stone coming up a little bit light, it does give Howard the opportunity to wrap in there, because all the guards being offset at this point, it's most likely going to require Gushue to invest multiple rocks to get there. So it's a good time to put the pressure on here. But then again, these guys are so good, they can make so many rocks fly at once. It's tough to ever be in exactly the correct place.
As we saw from Matt Cam last end, and we're going to see Jason Cam delivering the rock here with Tim March as well as Matt Cam. The brushers, little light brush about halfway down the rock, and now March will step on that one to try and get it in the desired position.
This one's also coming up a little bit light, so maybe just something on that side of the sheet in that direction, but we just saw both teams miss by, we'll say, about 5 or 6 feet light.
And a little surprised about that, Dave, because we saw a couple of good draws, good draw weight to start this end. I mean, that's how he's got 3 rocks inside the 8. One is halfway in the 12 foot. But now it appears that Gushue is going to switch things up and get a little bit of heat on this one with an opportunity to certainly eliminate that back green that is just touching the button.
Oh, the back green should go for sure if Brad can make it. Sorry,
Mark
can make a good shot, and yes, he do. It does.
Just like that, Team Gushue sits 2 after a nice shot from Mark Nichols. It's funny, you just mentioned these guys throw so much heat, they can make so many rocks go. And a beautiful double as we take a look once again from Mark Nichols. Not even much of a broom touch from Jeff Walker, just a perfect delivery, perfect release. Beautiful shot from Mark Nichols as Team Gushue continues to lead this game 1-0, and now it looks like coming back the other way will be Jason Cam.
it looks like we went from an end that was going to get all busy, one that's going to get very simple very quickly.
And I think a big attribute to that is this is just double central Jason Cam this time with the nice run back double to eliminate a couple of one yellow still remains in the rocks, and Team Gushue without hammer will have the shot here. But let's take a look at a beautiful double run back from Jason Cam.
Yeah, you see that shot that was put out there, and then just able to get that top one and clip it on the way past. And just like that, this end is going to get very simple.
And you almost had the sense that we were heading towards a simplistic end, Dave, when a couple of draws in a row were missed, one by Gushue and one by Team Howard. And that's led us to where we are right now.
Right. Neither team wants to be in a position where they have rocks that are, well, suboptimal for them and not in the best location. So they both just decide to hit the abort button. And it's not that Gushue is going to let them off easy here, but it's still going to make Howard work for the blank. But I do think that that's where we're going to end up eventually.
And that was an absolutely beautiful shot from Mark Nichols. Exactly what they call eliminate that green, chap over, remain in the house. And Team Gushue sits two as Matt Cam will get ready to deliver one. And perhaps a double is coming up for Matt Cam. It certainly is there, a flat one.
Oh, I do think that he has a shot at it, and it comes on down. It's just going to curl up a little bit too high and catch a little bit too much of it.
Well, I suppose you can't make him every single time, as Matt Cam just noses that one, and Gushue will look to split the house just about as much as you to deliver his last here in the third end. Jeff Walker waits for the call, hops to the other side of the rock, and now he wants some curl. This one well on the side where they did not want it. Will he get any curl? He's going to hit and flop to the inside. Certainly not what they were looking for. How does that stack up for Team Gushue there, Dave?
Well, essentially it's going to give Howard an opportunity to slash these off and work to the blank. Should be able to slash these off and remain in the rings because there's plenty of room with which to leave your shooter.
So Matt Cam with his final rock here in the third end. Another important shot. Tim March, Jason Cam, the Brushers. Calling the line is Scott Howard. Jason Cam jumps on it immediately. Needs some curl here, looking for the slash double. Will they get it? Yes, they will. Easy. 1, 2, gone. No rocks left in the house. And I tell you, Dave, Matt Cam missed the double last shot as we take another look at this. And great sweeping effort from Jason Cam, getting as much weight as he can on that one, leaning onto it. Another beautiful double. Matt Cam is putting on a show here tonight at the YNCU Center as a part of the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. Impressive stuff, Dave, for Matt Cam.
Hey, what did I tell you? These guys are pretty good, eh?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that. So if you're Brad Gushue, Dave, you just want to stay in the middle of the rings and make it as tough of a blank attempt at the end, or what is the game plan for Gushue here over the final two rocks?
Well, you never want to give a free opportunity here, so as tempting as it might be to try to stick something underneath that limited amount of cover that you have, then you'd give Howard an opportunity to freeze to it and make it tough. So I think you just keep it simple here and acknowledge that we're playing a blank. Now, Howard, to his part, he's going to try and make this hit and get a big old roll, most likely. Or he could just hit and stick and say, this is what we're doing. We're blanking now, which I think they both know is what's going to happen anyway.
Now, at this level, Dave, for people that perhaps the casual curling fans, Is there ever an avenue where you try and make a perfect freeze, or is that just too risky at this point?
It's too early in the game. The game's too tight for that. You don't want to give your opponent a freebie, especially when your opponents are that good.
So Scott Howard. Looks like they're having some issues with the hack.
Okay, so have a technical timeout here. Take this opportunity to take us around the rings here and see if we can get some score updates on our other games today. Right now we have Jacobs with a 2-1 lead over Klima in the third end. Reed Carruthers 2-1 in the third end over Morizumi. John Schuster and Marco Hosley are tied at 1, that game in the third end. Jung is 4-0 lead over Robert. And Simmons 2-1 over Young, that game in the third.
And that was a very impressive game for Lukas Klima of Czechia earlier today. He beat Mubrek, who is the 26th rank in the rankings. He beat him 9-2. So a very, very nice start, and now runs into a very excellent Brad Jacobs team. And good to see Brad back, in my opinion, Dave. One of the better curlers to ever play. I love seeing Brad back playing, and it just appears that this is where he needs to be. He's too good of a curler not to be playing on the circuit.
No, he definitely has a passion for the game, and was curling at a charity event in Blaine, Minnesota, where he was taking part of it. And now we see back here live that the hit and flop over is made by Scott Howard, leaving Gushue a easy hit back in return. But Brad had spoken about getting back in the game and taking perhaps a more measured approach, I think would be the words that he would use, a little bit more mature approach. You know, age has a way of helping you with that.
And perhaps waiting for the right opportunity in the right spot, and Brad Jacobs finds himself in a good one as Brad Gushue delivers his last here in the third end, a hit and stick, which will allow Scott Howard to try and eliminate that yellow, roll out of the house. And we could have another blank on our hands if Scott is able to execute it here in the third end. Final rock on the way from Scott Howard.
Yeah, it should be pretty straightforward. Just hit and roll, keep the weight up, and he's seen this line a couple times. Both teams have actually missed this way, so at least you know what not to do.
Tim March, Jason Cam are the brushers. Matt Cam in the house. Scott Howard with his final rock here in the third end, wanting a hit and roll out. Jason Cam jumping on it, trying to make it curl. Will this hit it and roll out? Yes, it will. Picture perfect shot from Scott Howard. After three ends, we got a good one brewing between Team Gushue 1 and Team Howard scoreless, but we'll take the hammer into the fourth end in continuing day one coverage of the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic, presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Welcome back to the YNCU Curling Center. This is day one coverage of the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. One for Gushue, two straight blanks, I should say. We are now playing in the fourth end here. Dave Schmel joined, I am Darnell Duff, and Dave, a tentative game. Now, we have seen Team Howard get out of a little bit of trouble. Matt Cam had to make a triple and two when we thought Gushue would maybe force Howard to a single, and then we saw Cam make a nice double in the latter half of last end as well. So it is only a 1-0 scoreline right now as it shows, but some beautiful shots from Matt Cam to keep it that way.
Absolutely. He's had some very nice curling shots to get his team out of trouble and when they were there. And it's really just a matter of both teams are being very quick to press the abort button and get out of trouble when they sense it's not going their way, because I think they both have a lot of mutual respect for each other and the fact that both teams are capable of taking advantage of even the slightest error here. So it's really a sign of respect for both squads here.
More than 1,100 fans tuning in right now on Curling Stadium. So hello to you, wherever you are tuning into day one coverage of the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. The top teams in the world all battling out for a share of a purse of $100,000. This is big stuff. These are the best teams in the world. And Jeff Walker with the release, and Mark Nichols provides the brush. Now Walker will come in. And double duty, as mentioned, if you're just joining us, Team Gushue is only playing with 3 here. Brendan Botcher is not yet with this team. That was the blockbuster edition and took the curling world by storm for so many. He has not yet joined the team. So Gushue is playing with himself, Nichols, and Jeff Walker.
Yeah, definitely a huge move. And there's been no shortage of opinions on the curling world if you pay attention to all the different feeds and podcasts and webcasts. So it's certainly going to be interesting, but there's no doubt that Brendan Botcher has a lot of talent and will definitely add that to the Gushue rink.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody's going to have their opinion. Everybody is certainly open to their own opinion, but I don't think anybody can dispute that Brendan Botcher is one of the best in the game. The game of curling is better with Brendan Botcher in it, in my opinion, because the shot making goes through the roof with his talent level. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can bring to an already world-class team in Brad Gushue as Jason Cam delivers this one. Looks like they're looking for the short angle raise, green onto yellow to get something stirred up here in the fourth end after a couple of blanks in a row. And I must say, a beautiful shot from Jason Cam, chaps that green onto the yellow, eliminates that one, and then rolls over behind the corner guard. And let's see that one again.
Yeah, what you see here is they go and they make this short angle raise and be able to roll the shooter and control that roll and get it dead buried under cover. And now they're lying 2 under cover. So great execution there. Now there is a lot of distance left, and I do see a little sliver of it. And I do suspect a double takeout attempt is going to be coming.
Mark Nichols with a big shot here early on in the fourth end as Team Howard trying to get something going offensively after 2 successful blanks in a row. Jeff Walker not touching it a whole lot. Now looking to make it curl. He's got 1. Does he have 2? No, he does not. He hits and rolls under. So sitting perfectly behind the guard is Team Howard, sitting 1 nearly halfway through the fourth end here at the YNCU Curling Center.
So now Scott Howard's going to try to figure out where he wants to go, and so giving some thought to giving the big split in the rings. I think that's what he's going to elect to do. Now, doing that, you're going to force Brad Gushue to a decision as to whether he's going to engage in that chase or draw under and flip the pressure back. But if you do that, you bring the possibility of a 3 into play. So this is going to be a pivotal couple choices here.
Jason Cam with the release. Matt Cam and Tim March provide the brush. Scott Howard in the house. Trailing 1-0 is Team Howard against the 4th ranked team in the rankings this year. They have 106.8 points. Does Team Gushue, I should say, third in the world team rankings, only behind Joel Retornaz of Italy and Bruce Mowat of Scotland. As that one, perfect, exactly what it does appear Scott Howard wanted. Now, did you like the fact that they split the rings there, or would you have liked them to wrap around the center guard, Dave?
Well, you knew that either way that Gushue was going to play to the center, so it's just forcing him to make this call. Now, this is a much tougher shot for the Gushue rink to make as a roll, because the hit and roll is one of the toughest shots in curling, and you have to control this roll about 5 feet. So I do like the call from Howard with the big split.
Mark Nichols, Jeff Walker on it. Can he get the perfect roll? That is the question. If so, he's got 2 guards. Let's see where this one rolls. Scott Howard looking to get it into the open. A valiant effort from Mark Nichols, but that will roll just an inch too much. Real close, Dave, to being really good.
Yeah, but unfortunately, real close isn't going to be good enough here. So now it's Scott Howard's going to have an opportunity. It looks like he's indicating he's going to play back underneath the guard again, which I like. This is being really aggressive.
This is certainly being really aggressive. Matt Cam with a couple of beautiful, a triple and a double to his name. Can he get the perfect hit and roll here and put the pressure on Team Gushue? Let's find out. Tim March and Jason Cam provide the brush. Jason Cam on this one. They're looking to keep it straight and now flop it under the cover. And boy, oh boy, Matt Cam, pretty perfect, Dave. A really strong performance. And now that's really forcing Gushue, Team Gushue, to make a really good shot here to try and get out of trouble.
Yeah, so you're going to see a most likely a big weight shot here. With any luck, you could possibly get all 3 of these greens to go with a good one. So Mark Nichols is going to be called to bring the sword of Damocles down on these.
Mark Nichols with the release, a huge shot in the back half of the 4th end here at the YNCU Center. Jeff Walker looking to make it curl, and this will slide right through, only able to eliminate the guard, and Team Howard still sits 2 with 3 rocks to go, and the final for Matt Cam in this 4th end.
It just looks like that Mark set that out just a little bit off his hand. So now the question is, do you throw the guard up or do you re-split? Now, if you re-split right now, you're probably getting 2 all day, and there's nothing Brad's going to be able to do about it at this point. It's going to be, well, there's always something he can do about it, but it's going to be incredibly difficult. And I think that Scott Howard recognizes the value of getting 2 here, but I don't know if I'd be so ready to get up on 3 yet. But
Matt Cam looking to deliver his final rock of this 4th end. It's to sit 3. Slight little brush from Jason Cam. Tim March waits on. Little brush into the house, clean, off and on, and exactly where they wanted that one. And Team Howard sits 3 here with 2 rocks to come from Gushue as he'll attempt the double on those 2 greens on the left side.
right, that's a shot that, Scott Howard knows is coming automatically now. As soon as they split the rings, this double is coming back. And that's the choice he made, because once we go back and forth and trade these last couple rocks, it's going to be pretty much certainly without a huge miss a deuce for Scott Howard.
Brad Gushue with his first of the 4th end here, trying to make 2 greens go. We'll see what he can do. Out of the house, Jeff Walker provides the brush. Mark Nichols with the line and right out of the hand. Jeff Walker has it. Off for a bit. Will he generate enough to get the double? That is the question. No, he will not, but he will roll over onto the corner of that green, and it appears that Gushue, despite not making the double, will end up shot rock here after his first. And Dave, how does that work out? You're sitting shot, but still an opportunity for, it appears, Scott Howard to chap that through and sit 3 once again, heading into Brad's last.
Yeah, Scott's going to have an opportunity to sit 3, but he's not going to be able to put enough separation on this to prevent Brad from throwing a shot back at it. They're going to look to see if they see anything. I guess if you got really cute, you might be able to rattle around and maybe put about 18 or 20 inches between the two stones, but it'd be tough to get too much more distance and separation than that. So alternatively, you might consider making the double and intentionally losing your own and coming all the way, rolling all the way in, but that would be uber aggressive.
And if you sit on top, Dave, is that double not there? I know a cross-house double, but would that provide Brad with an opportunity to get out of this end?
Well, these guys are good. We've said that before.
Scott Howard, with his first rock of this fourth end, we'll see what he can do. Tim March all over that one. Trying to keep this one from curling, hit and chap over. Looks like it is the call. Can Tim March hold this one? All over it is March. Indeed he will. He'll leave his green rock sitting right there. And it is Team Howard sitting 3 as Brad Gushue gets set to deliver his last rock.
Yeah, I mean, they are sitting the 3 right now, and they did their job. They're forcing Brad to throw a double here, which he needs to throw it and set shot. Be really tough to be undercover here, but so it just had to execute this double to make sure it's only a deuce. So great end here out of Team Howard.
No doubt. Matt Cam kept them in a position where they had an opportunity to get back-to-back blanks, which they were successful in doing so. And now Team Howard has something brewing here as Brad Gushue, one of the greatest ever play, gets set to deliver his final rock here in the fourth end, playing as a threesome this week alongside Mark Nichols and Jeff Walker. Brad Gushue, his last here in the fourth end, trying to get at least 2 granite stones out of the rings. This one has to curl. Is he going to get 2? Just barely. It does appear indeed. And Scott Howard will have a free draw. Basically, full 12 will be good enough for 2 points after Brad Gushue makes that double.
Yeah, well executed shot there. There was a couple different ways to make it, and luckily they got to one of them.
So Scott Howard,
holding the shooter around there. Sorry about that, Darnell. Holding the shooter around there was not really ever tremendously important because you were never going to be able to put your rock in such a position that would have been difficult for Scott Howard to get to it. So just left with this draw to the 12-foot.
So Scott Howard with his normal routine, which I find is always incredibly important, no matter how easy the shot may be, go through the same routine every single time. And when he gets ready to throw his rock, all he needs is just a couple of feet inside the full 12, and he will have his 2 points. And there you go, 1, 2, and Scott Howard gets 2 points after 4 ends. A good one continues heading after the break. You're listening and watching Curling Stadium Live from the Henderson Medal Fall Classic, where Team Howard leads Team Gushue after 4, 2-1, presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario.
On behalf of the volunteer board, the support team, and all the families who will be helped by this year's Sandra Schmurler Foundation Telethon, thank you for being a part of this historic moment. $1,126,014, a new record, exceeding our goal, and most importantly, countless families from St. John's to Victoria to Yellowknife and babies in over 100 hospitals in between will be impacted by your generosity. And we couldn't do it without the amazing partnerships we have with Curling Canada, TSN, and Net2Phone Canada. They connect you, our generous supporters, with so many of the Scotties participants and our volunteers on Telethon Day. A special thank you to Jocelyn and Brett for sharing little Luke Gallant's stories, and all of the families across this great country who shared stories of how Sandra's legacy has helped their little ones grow up and become champions. In each of the last 3 years, because of generous supporters like you, the Sandra Schmerler Foundation has been able to give back $1 million to help babies in every province and territory. And this year's telethon will ensure we can continue that incredible momentum. Thank you for helping champions start small.
Thank you, Canada!
And halfway through the game.
2-1 as we welcome you back to the YNCU Curling Center as a part of the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. Dave Schmel, we have a good one here, but we also have several other games around the rink.
Oh, yes, Darnell, we certainly do. Obviously, in our game here, it's been a real game of cat and mouse with seeing a couple blank ends and both teams waiting for their opportunity. And Scott Howard just was able to take advantage of it there, securing the deuce in that last end. And taking a look around the rings, Brad Jacobs is leading 2-1 over Klima. Carruthers 4-1 over Morizumi. Marco Hosley is leading John Schuster by a score of 2-1. Jiang has a commanding 7-0 lead in the fourth end over Rivera. And Simmons is 2-1 over Young. But here, it's 2-1 in favor of Scott Howard, and we have Gushue with the hammer.
And Dave, is it safe to say we're going to see all out foot to the throttle if you're Team Gushue now? You're playing in the fifth end, you've played 4 ends, and you're trailing 2-1. Is it all out, go, go, go now if you're Team Gushue?
I don't know if I'd particularly believe that because they're a big fan of the analytics of the game. And only trailing 1, I wouldn't be surprised to see Gushue try to steer this towards a blank here and play with hammer in 6 and 8. But we'll see how it plays out because obviously Scott Howard knows that as well and has already put up a guard and come in himself, and appears that this shot is going to be another high guard, and it is covering up his own stone in the house. So they want to deny that, but I think Brad's going to start ripping away now.
Dave, how pleased are you if you are Team Howard right now? You had some great shot making in ends 2 and 3 to get those blanks, and then you manufacture a really good end thanks to Jason Cam made a great shot. Matt Cam made a beautiful hit and roll. You ultimately split the house and forced Gushue to make a double with his last, and if he missed that, you would have got 3. You got 2. You're up 2-1 after 4 ends. How pleased can you be right now if you are Team Scott Howard?
I think you have to be happy with the fact that you've shown patience and got the resolution that you wanted. Now you see the little downweight shot here from Team Gushue. Don't believe that was exactly the call. I do believe they were trying to split off the guard and push the Howard rock to a corner guard position and bring their own over for a second corner. So now Scott Howard's going to be able to take an opportunity to come in under with an additional rock to really apply the pressure. And this is going to kind of screw up Brad Gushue's game plan here.
Yeah, and we saw another top team this morning, I think, felt the pressure of his opponent that was putting pressure because they were making key shots, and Kevin Cooey just was unable to match those key shots that Team McEwen was making there. And it's almost appears that way here at times, that making some really good shots is Team Howard, and Team Gushue just hasn't been able to match it so far.
Oh, for sure. That's definitely going to be the case And with the Kiwi matchup, it was really, well, it was a game that Tyler Tardy really would wish he had back. It was a real struggle for him through at least 3 ends of a show in a row, and with missing 2 out of 3 stones in each of those ends, and that's really what put the game against him.
So now Brad Gushue trying to eliminate some rocks with Mark Nichols, which they will do. Wide open now. So Mark Nichols gets some thunder and lightning, eliminates a couple of rocks, and all of a sudden the middle of the sheet is wide open. Team Howard still does sit 2 without hammer and leading 2-1 here in 5th end play.
Here we see that beautiful raise that in the last end. That was a nice shot.
As we see Matt Cam throwing his first rock here in the 5th end, looking to cover up those greens. Tim March jumps on it, switching places now as well with Jason Cam. My name is Darnell Duff, pleased to be joined tonight by Dave Schmel, who you'll be hearing plenty throughout the weekend. Ryan Jake's doing a fantastic job back at the production studio as Matt Cam. Exactly what was the call he produces as Team Howard continues to sit 2. And Dave, I know there's still a few rocks, but we are getting late in the end at this point.
Absolutely. It's time for Brad to make a real choice as to whether he's going to still try to score this end. And by indicating a back line weight, it looks like he hasn't given up on getting a deuce here. So he's going to try to take this blue rock and get a roll underneath the double corner guards that he has set up on the left-hand side, as we see in the overhead.
Mark Nichols with his first of this 5th end for Team Gushue, trailing by 2-1 against Howard, as he looks to get that hit and little chap over behind the corner guards. Will this be the shot they were looking for? Side of the 12-foot, and Team Howard continues to lead by 2. Sit 2 here late in the 5th end.
They sit 2, but Gushue did get that rock well under cover. So you see Scott Howard taking a look here, and he's going to think about, he entertained the idea of following that down and curling underneath the guards, and now also considering just coming underneath the center himself. Both are very viable options, but this is worth a conversation, and they're going to go ahead and have that talk.
And the conversation, to me anyways, Dave, appears to only be between Scott Howard and Matthew Cam. I'm seeing increasingly teams, all 4 players, or at least 3 of them, join at the house, but it seems to be exclusively only Matt Cam and Scott Howard here, at least late in the ends when they need to decide what the right call is.
Well, it's all about what your team dynamic is. Not every team wants all those cooks in the kitchen. And ultimately, it's, who has to throw it is a big deal. So, and it's about the level of comfort that you have as a skip with getting input from somebody. Not to say that you don't respect all the members of your team. You certainly do, but a lot of times it's valuable to have somebody who has a similar but somewhat different perspective of the game to you. You don't necessarily want to take advice from somebody who calls the game completely different from you, but just a little bit of a different perspective is often helpful.
Well, if Matt Cam has his own highlight reel, he's going to look back at this game tape and add, because he has made some beautiful shots, and it looks like he is looking for top 8 here in his final rock of the 5th end. Matt Cam, Jason Cam, and Tim March. The brushers in the house is Scott Howard. Team Howard continues to lead Gushue 2-1 here in the 5th end.
Yeah, so trying to tuck one in here, get under the cover. Gonna magic and try to drag it in. Looks like it has plenty of weight and enough line. They need this one to stop, and it does stop right at the tee line.
A little bit too deep, though, Dave. I would assume they wanted that no further than the top of the 4-foot.
Oh, absolutely, because it's a very easy chase for Brad Gushue at this point. to come and get to that one. So it's just a matter, you can actually even get there from both turns.
And that's what's so amazing about curling. A shot could either come up a foot short or a foot long like it did there, and that completely can change the outlook of the game, because if Mark Nichols can come here and make a shot, then all of a sudden what was pressure on Gushue just about 45 seconds ago could ultimately turn into pressure on Team Howard with the flick of a twist. Jeff Walker needing this one to curl. This one is way outside, though. Now he's just trying to hit the back green and flop inside. Another uncharacteristic miss from Mark Nichols, who just appears to perhaps not have found the right ice or outside the broom. But all of a sudden, we thought maybe he was going to be able to put the pressure on Team Howard. And now we go right back to Howard forcing the issue. And if he's able to put this in a good spot, I relate this back to the broadcast we had last week between Van Amsterdam and John Epping there at the Toronto Tankard, where Van Amsterdam had an opportunity to draw. He went right through the house, so Epping then glued one onto the top four. Van Amsterdam missed a double. Epping stole three and ran away with that game. Not saying that's going to be the outcome here, but Team Howard certainly has the opportunity to put a lot of pressure on Team Gushue, and they're up by one right now without Hammer.
Yeah, definitely a great opportunity to just lock one in here. And for Mark Nichols, we've now seen him set one out on both turns now. So it's just maybe not a little bit 100% there right now for that. Now, if we can lock one on here and line it up appropriately so that any hit attempt comes to the backing would really be key. Now, gotta drag this one over, and they're trying to bring it hard for the weight, needing every inch, and that's going to be just a little bit light.
That's going to be light, certainly, but you have to give kudos to Tim March there, who was stepping on that one, and I can only imagine his workout regimen, because an incredible sweeper, and we just saw it there. So it is sitting 2, it does appear, or perhaps sitting 3, Team Howard, with Team Gushue getting set to deliver his first rock. And you have a long guard up there about halfway between the hog line and the rings. What does Gushue do here to try and settle things down heading into his final rock, Dave?
Well, I mean, the guard's pretty long. I mean, you should be able to clip that shot rock and roll over to the side and sit shot frozen, I would think. Certainly one that's in the wheelhouse.
And that is the call. A big shot here from Brad Gushue after Mark Nichols missed his last, but Team Howard was unable to fully capitalize as the shot came up just short by Howard. So we'll see what Brad Gushue can do here with his first in the fifth end. Down by one is Team Gushue. Gushue delivers. Jeff Walker provides the brush. He's on it basically right out of the hand. This one looks a little tight towards that green at the center line. Jeff Walker continuing on it. Oh boy, and it wicks that green. Oh, so close for Brad Gushue, but it ends up being somewhat of a disaster as Gushue cannot get past that center guard. He ticks it, and if you're Scott Howard right now, you have to be in a really good place, have to be confident moving into this next shot after Brad Gushue just barely misses that one as he ticks the guard.
Yeah, that just caught the guard. I think it actually caught the backside as it went past Darnell. I would have bet you a small sum of money that was already clear. But now, so if you're Scott Howard, it's where do you put this next zone? I mean, clearly you want to protect in some way, but do you do that by coming in again, or do you throw a guard?
Could you not freeze on top of that one that's touching the button right now? And then what does Gushue do at that point?
Well, no, that's what I was thinking. You come in right down to it. Yeah, for sure. And then it's going to be difficult for Brad to get in there and really make something happen. It might be a question of how many does Brad give up here? Because with both of those Yellowstones off the rings, the guards being kind of lined up, none of them are really easily runnable. Now, you do have that very long guard on the opposite side that could be run in, and that might be the type of desperation shot we see coming. Now, if you do draw in and Brad Jacobs can make that, that shot's for 3.
Scott Howard, this is a big one. Fifth end, his final rock. Up by 1, Gushue with the hammer. Just moments after Brad Gushue ticked the guard. Can Scott Howard glue this one to the button rock? Tim March stepping on it right there. How long can March drag this one? Boy, oh boy, is he giving it. Tim March, folks. Can he get it past that one in the 8-foot? Yes, he can. He'll glue it. A slight tap, a beautiful brush, a beautiful shot from Scott Howard. And Team Howard sits 1 and sits 2 with Brad Gushue's last set to come here momentarily.
All right, so absolutely a huge scrub here. And they drag it all the way past, just past the guard. And they do get, unfortunately for them, a little bit of a bump. They had to scrub it to hold the line or else they were going to wreck. But now by moving it back just that ever small amount, this flat double is here. It's for a single, but it is there.
A big shot. Scott Howard, another great end after 2. Brad Gushue with the final rock of the 5th end here. Facing 2, what can Gushue do? Mark Nichols with the broom. Jeff Walker, the brush. He's on it, needing to keep this one straight. Is Jeff Walker. What does Brad Gushue have? Hits, flops, eliminates 1, and that is tight, but it does appear to be 1 for Team Gushue. So after 5 ends, ladies and gentlemen, we have a dandy. Gushue 2, Howard 2, in continuing day 1 coverage of the Henderson Metal Fall Classic, presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario.
Gripper first.
Don't forget your brooms.
Yep, you got it. Yellow, yellow.
Come on. Well, what do you got? You got 1, you got 2, yeah!
Just one more throw, please.
You make moments like these possible.
Handcrafted in Canada, Hardline's ice pad has revolutionized curling for over a decade. Engineered with top-tier precision and durability, it is backed by an unmatched 10-year warranty. Designed for curlers at all levels to sweep effortlessly with maximum efficiency, it is trusted by the world's best curlers, including Olympic and world champions. It is quite simply the best broom in the game. Hardline, join the revolution.
Welcome back to the YNCU Curling Center for day 1 coverage of the Henderson Metal Fall Classic, presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. We have a fantastic game so far between Brad Gushue and Team Scott Howard, tied at 2 apiece, with Howard getting the last rock here in the 6th end. And we were sort of chatting, Dave Schmel, and joined by Darnell Duff here. And Dave, we were talking a little bit during the time out there that little chap that Scott Howard had on his final to move his other green back just a few, like half a foot, that allowed Gushue to make perhaps a little bit, still a tough shot, but a little bit easier of a shot than maybe it would have been if he were just able to glue it on perfectly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was ultimately, that's where, had Scott Howard elected to take a little bit of the safer shot and maybe throw a guard as opposed to applying the really going for the jugular there, which I can't blame him for, because how many opportunities are you going to get? But they had to scrub it so hard to hold the line and just put the weight on it. And right now we see that we're going to get out the quick square to see if that stone is actually touching the center line. Of course, we're playing the no tick rule here. So if that stone is at all in contact with the center line, it can't be moved off the center line. So they checked it and they didn't indicate anything to us. So that was very helpful.
So Glenn Howard now, or Scott Howard, I should say. I'm sure Glenn Howard is tuning into this one as well. I'm sure Glenn is tuning into this as well, but Scott Howard lays down the broom, and Jason Cam being asked to draw this one into the top 8, all tied up at 2 here in the 6th end. Dave, we've seen some incredible shots, doubles, triples, hit and rolls, some nice draws, some great brushing, a couple of blanks, and we're setting up for a finale of 3 ends at least. This should be a fun one because it's been an exciting game so far.
Oh, it certainly has. And now with Gushue getting forced there in the 5th, Scott Howard's actually in the driver's seat now with the 2 hammers to 1 with that even end advantage. That draw came, I would say, probably a good 1.5 feet deeper than they would have liked. So it's going to give Brad an opportunity to play with it a little bit and keep the pressure on here.
As Jeff Walker will release the next rock, Mark Nichols is the brusher. Would you agree that I think Howard, with this being his 2nd game of this Bonspiel, and all that Team Gushue had was a practice before this game, but I just have the feeling that Team Howard is perhaps figured out the ice a little bit more than Team Gushue has straight away, as Jeff Walker with a nice draw right on top of that green.
Well, that was certainly the case earlier in the game. I do feel that Gushue has found that line now, but certainly early in the game, it was a decided advantage for Scott Howard.
As Jason Cam with his final rock here of the 6th end, all tied up at 2. Stay tuned to Curling Stadium all weekend long. You'll hear plenty of Dave Schmel for continuing coverage of this Bonspiel. That up for grabs, a purse of $100,000. The best teams in the world go head-to-head, as coming into the house with the top 12 draw was Jason Cam.
Don't mention my name too much, buddy. I mean, we want people to watch, not turn off.
Well, that's what they come here to watch you, to hear you, and to watch some outstanding curling.
Well, I just try to accentuate the talent of the outstanding curling we get to see here. And now, speaking of which, we're going to see the other turn here, because we have a bit of a complicated house starting to brew here.
And we've had complicated houses at times throughout this game, Dave, and then they start throwing upweight shots and things change in a hurry. Interested to see if we continue to see the complication in the rings here for the rest of the end as we play in the 6th end in a 2-2 deadlock tie between Gushue and Howard. This one looks like it's going to kick the guard.
Oh, yeah, it definitely did clip the guard there, and it's going to leave a guard an interesting spot now. It's going to be a choice for Scott Howard what to do there. They do lie shot there in the button, but that second Gushue rock doesn't leave a lot of room to score another one. The problem is their own green is not doing them any favors where it's sitting there. So it's a matter, do they peel the guard, or they try to shoot this little port, or maybe tick things around and move it? So a couple different choices here.
Yeah, I think it's certainly, you have to move something around, because as you mentioned, that green in the 4, you are sitting one, but not in a very good position if you are Team Howard at this point.
And that's what this is all about, trying to get yourself in the right position, and especially as we move closer to the final ends of the game, getting into that right position is very important. And so they elected to rip the center guard off here and open things up a touch.
Gushue appears he's electing to just replace that guard about halfway down between the hog line and the 12-foot with Mark Nichols Rock here in continuing 6th end play at the Henderson Fall Meadow Classic, which is presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. Some awesome, fantastic curling action so far. The biggest upset of the day came this morning when Sandy McEwen's rink upset Team Cooey 9-6 in an extra end. You see Joel Retornas, his rink of Italy, beat John Epping. Corey Dropkin then defeated McEwen 8-1. You have Mike McEwen, who's been on an absolute heater this year. He downed Mark Keane to advance to the A-side semifinal, where he will go up against Matt Dunstone's rink, who beat Magnus Ramsfeld earlier today. Jacobs and Klima currently on the ice, as well as Morozumi, Carruthers. Of course, the feature match you're tuning into right now and watching is Gushue and Howard, and one other match is Schuster as well as Hoisley. So some fantastic curling, Dave, and truly many of the best teams in the world have graced the YNCU Center in the Sioux for what should be an incredible weekend.
Oh, absolutely. Well, like you said, a lot of money up for grabs, $106,000. Don't forget that extra $6,000. But right now, yeah, Brad Jacobs with a 4-3 lead. Reed Carruthers is up 4-3. Marco Hosley and John Schuster in a very tight 2-1 game. Jiang has completed the win over Robert, and it's all tied up between Young and Simmons in the 4th end.
And if you're just tuning into this game right now, you have missed some beautiful shots. Despite the low score, Matt Cam was putting on a clinic early with his hits. He made a beautiful triple to get his team out of trouble, then made a beautiful double to get his team out of trouble. Some nice hit rolls by Team Howard as well, and then Team Gushue with a beautiful shot from Brad with his last in the 5th end. They hit and in to just bump out his opposing green to get one, and that's where we stand, 2-2. Playing in the 6th end here with sitting one right now with hammer is Team Howard.
Unfortunately, that shot did not go quite as well as Matt Cam would have liked. And Gushue's now going to have the opportunity to remove the stone from the button and lie 3 and put Howard in a position to be forced here.
Well, and that's the thing, Dave, when you're playing such a world-class team like Brad Gushue, you can't afford to miss. Even if you miss by a centimeter or a couple of inches, this team is so good, and so many other teams around the world curling these days, if you miss, it puts you in a real big detriment, and it appears that Scott Howard is going to try and chap off that one in the 4-foot and move under cover of his green that's just touching the top 12.
That shot's certainly available. You have to make sure you roll to the right spot. It's extremely flat. Trying to figure out which way they want to come at it.
Now, Matt Cam has got this Team Howard team out of trouble. Now can he get the offensive going and get this Team Howard team cooking? Let's find out. Matt Cam delivers his first of the 6th end here in a 2-2 game. Looking for some curl. Where will this rock end up? It'll hit a yellow. It will sit. Shot Matt Cam, folks. A fantastic performance, as just like that, Team Howard sits one behind their own green as well.
Yeah, that is dead undercover right there, and we're going to get another look at it. Comes on down and just a little bit of curl, plenty of weight, makes that dead flat roll and comes right up underneath, fully buried. Great shot.
And now Brad Gushue will ask Mark Nichols to double these off. The last hit that Mark Nichols had of this magnitude was a couple of ends ago when Howard got 2 points, and all Nichols was able to peel the guard. We'll see if he can make this one right and make the double. Mark Nichols, the brusher, is Jeff Walker. And he only eliminates one, so just like that, Dave, Team Howard is in a real good position again. Mark Nichols just struggling a little bit with those upweight shots.
Yeah, just some days it's just not there, right? I mean, you had to feel it and get it right now. Certainly a player of his caliber is going to be able to correct that, but not doing any favors right here in the short term.
Matt Cam with his final here in the sixth end, a 2-2 deadlock. Tim March steps on this one, trying to make it curl. Get those two rocks even up. Do not allow Gushue perhaps a double. We'll see what Tim March, how far he can drag this one.
Definitely putting a big sweep onto it.
And he ends up a little bit light. Now, that double does appear to be there, but it is quite thin, Dave. I would think that Matt Cam wanted that a few feet deeper to try and even up those two greens.
Oh, certainly not exactly where you want to be. Like you said, it is a very thin double, but certainly one I think that Brad can make. It's just going to be a matter of getting the line right now. Of course, it's never the easiest thing to make this kind of shot because he just has to catch a little bit of a sliver and you don't want to jam anything anywhere. But let's see if Brad is up to the task.
Waiting for the arrival of Brendan Botcher, Brad Gushue with his first rock here in the sixth end, trying to make the double and eliminate a couple of greens. Jeff Walker all over that one. Now he's off. Needs this to be thin. Brad Gushue, folks. Yes, indeed. Routine for Brad Gushue. Bye-bye to those two greens. Picture perfect double. And now Gushue sits 3 without last rock here in the sixth end.
Well, just another day at the office for Brad Gushue. You know, skates on down, hand in the pocket. I just made this really thin double takeout. No big deal.
No stranger to making big shots. I think we can both agree on that. We may not agree on everything, Dave, but I think we can agree that Brad has made his fair share of big shots throughout his career.
Absolutely. And I'm sure all the folks at home would agree too.
So now
Scott Howard's going to have to try to find some cover here with his rock.
Needs to roll quite a bit. We'll see what Scott Howard can do with his first rock here in the sixth end. Some good shot making, continued shot making as this match continues to roll on here from the YNCU Curling Center.
Very important shot to make here.
They're looking to keep it straight. Now curl a little bit. Scott Howard, not quite. He'll leave that one in the open. So now Brad Gushue, an opportunity to eliminate that green. And then Scott Howard will have his final rock, and it will be what should be a routine shot for one. So a couple of good shots from Team Gushue to get his team out of the little bit of a jam that they were in just a couple of shots ago.
Absolutely. Here comes Brad with the last for him.
Sixth then, Brad Gushue, Jeff Walker, just walking this in. A little short brush. Now he wants it to curl a couple of inches. He'll get that curl, looking to eliminate the green, which is what is done. So Scott Howard, an opportunity to draw to the 4-foot 4-1 here in the final rock of the sixth end to take a 3-2 lead. And we talk about shot difficulty. This isn't necessarily a difficult shot, Dave, but the situation perhaps that you're in. You're playing one of the best teams in the world. You're currently tied up, and you have a chance to go up by 1. So no, it's not a tough shot, but perhaps some pressure comes along with it.
Well, it's definitely a high-pressure shot for certain, but one that any skip has to make if you're going to be serious about competing at this level. And I have no doubt that Scott has this one in his pocket.
Scott Howard with the final rock here in the sixth end, looking for one to take a 3-2 lead. Sweepers looking on, a little slight brush, and that is exactly what you want. Picking it up is Jason Cam, looking for full four for the single. Picture perfect shot just like his dad. That is Scott Howard. And after 6 ends of play, Green gets one. Howard takes a 3-2 lead over Brad Gushue. We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to continued coverage of the Henderson Medal Fall Classic presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario.
Hey, all you curling fans sitting at home watching the Stu Sells Toronto Tankard here at StuCurls.com. Look, High Park's just down the road. We're here in the Junction. If you bring the map card with you, come to Caribou Gifts and start your Christmas shopping early and get some great gifts for the family.
Hi, I'm Carl Kloss and I'm the owner of Kloss Concepts. We're an electrical contractor operating in the GTA and Muskoka areas. Kloss Concepts is the proud title sponsor of the Toronto Tankard Series. We would like to wish everybody good luck and happy curling.
What does a super dry taste like?
Let me show you. It's tradition reimagined. Refreshing. Old, yet new. I'm one of a kind. Also, it's super dry. Asahi Super Dry. Beyond expected.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Crowd in the stands, and
to the more than 1,500 watching from coast to coast, wherever you may be, welcome back to the YNCU Curling Center for continuing day one coverage of the Henderson Medal Fall Classic presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. My name is Darnell Duff, an absolute pleasure to be joined by Dave Schmel. And Dave, Team Howard takes a 3-2 lead, but Gushue does have the hammer heading into the 7th end here.
Absolutely, and Brad Gushue would like nothing more than to get a blank here and carry that hammer into the 8th, down 1. Now, obviously, Scott Howard's going to try to deny him that opportunity and get the force on so he can come home tied up with the hammer. So we'll see how the cat and mouse game progresses here.
And Dave, when you look at key shots, what did not happen for Team Howard there was that perfect draw that they needed from Matt Cam. It ended up coming up a little bit short. That allowed Brad Gushue to make a double, and once he made the double, the end was pretty much over for Howard. That was a tough miss, and again, it's a game of just a couple of feet. If that was a couple of feet deeper, Howard likely has a chance for 2 in that end, but it wasn't the case.
Absolutely. Very often in this game, that very small differences in shot making will prove to be the difference in how an end progresses. But it was not a tragedy for Howard. They did still score. They still are on the seesaw, so to speak. And if they can manage this end properly, they'll have the hammer coming home.
So Team Howard gets one into the top 8, and now Jeff Walker delivers it with Mark Nichols with the brush on this one. This is Team Gushue's first match. Meanwhile, it is Team Howard's second. They hammered Takumi Maeda earlier today. They scored 4 in the 6th end and then stole 5 in the 7th end in a commanding 10-1 victory, which has led them up to this evening's game, which has them in a barn burner with Team Gushue up 3-2 without hammer in the 7th end.
I see a nice little tap up here and does push the Gushue stone into being shot, but still a lot of rocks to be thrown here, so I wouldn't necessarily be too worried about that yet.
And it doesn't seem to me, Dave, that Team Howard is feeling any fear. I know these are all world-class curlers, all elite curlers. They curl against each other, but it has to be a little bit daunting when you're playing a Brad Gushue, knowing that they basically don't miss, although that they have missed, several shots today. But I just love that Team Howard is staying composed, and it seems like they're committed to their game plan, and overall they're playing a pretty good game.
Well, ultimately, Darnell, even the best teams miss. It's very rare that you're going to see a team curl at 95% through a game, and when a team does do that, all you're going to lose, you're going to tip your cap and shake their hand and congratulate them on a good game played. It's how a team reacts when they have an opportunity, and how, if you cause that opportunity, how do you respond back from a miss and dig out of it? And that's what really separates the truly elite teams from those that are just really good.
So Team Gushue sits one side of the four behind that yellow and green stagger. Jason Cam with the delivery, Tim March and Matt Cam. Cam looking for some curl on this one. They were looking for a little hit and roll to the right side, which it appears they will get perhaps a little bit too much. I think they were looking for a little bit of a less roll than that. Nonetheless, still able to eliminate one yellow, but now Gushue with that miss can certainly go into the offense as he calls a little hit and roll over to the center line.
Yeah, I see he's not very happy with himself on that shot. And now Gushue's going to have the opportunity to move to the offense here. And as much as I said he'd love to take a blank, you never turn down a deuce if it comes to you.
Yeah, and based on that reaction, Dave, from Jason Cam, he knows that that's a shot that you can't miss against such a good team as Mark Nichols. Jeff Walker trying to get this curl. They're looking to get to the inside, which they will not do. They're going to jam it straight back. And Mark Nichols just not overly sharp here tonight, as that one is a miss for Team Gushue.
It's just been a little bit off on all the hits. It might be something in his delivery, something that they'll definitely look at in practice for sure. It's not something you can necessarily correct during a game if you're having those sort of problems, because that can only serve to make things worse. But they know it, and they'll work on it, and they'll fix it.
Now it's Matt Cam, as Team Howard will try to move towards a force, if at all possible. Would be an ideal situation for Team Howard. Matt Cam will deliver this rock. Tim March trying to keep this straight so it doesn't jam on the back. Now looking for a little bit of curl from Jason Cam, which they will get. And sitting three now is Team Howard without hammer here in the seventh end. How things turn, Dave. It looked like Gushue was going to have a golden opportunity to hit and roll under cover. They did not. And all of a sudden, it is sitting three for Team Howard. And now Gushue has to try and generate something here. And it looks like he's looking either go behind the center guard or perhaps even his own corner guard, or eliminate the green that he's currently tapping on.
Yeah, there's a lot of different places you could go here. Drawing underneath your own guard is always a nice thing, because then you're working with your own color. Does not appear those angles are favorable for a triple right now, so the blank button might not be available yet, but you could certainly make a double and try to start to work your way towards a blank if you like. You still have four rocks to throw here.
So Mark Nichols,
a lot of different choices.
With his second of this seventh end, 3-2 for Howard. Looks like perhaps they're going to try to eliminate that green and roll into the center, something they called a couple of shots ago. Mark was unable to capitalize on the opportunity. Looking to make this curl is Jeff Walker. It is on the center guard, I do believe.
And here we get a good look at it. Bringing it down and just trying to push it, and it just does clear. But they don't get quite as much roll as they'd like, and they will be in the house sitting one.
And now Scott Howard goes back with Matt Cam with his final rock here of the seventh end, with Team Howard leading 3-2 late here in the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic presented by Coyote Tractors of Ontario. Brushers on and off. Cam looking for a little roll, which he will get. He'll draw to get it to the back of the button, but now an opportunity, Dave, I would think, for Team Gushue, probably salivating and a chance to try and freeze to the top of the 4. And then at that point, if you're Team Howard, what do you do?
Well, if you make this freeze, I think you throw right back to it and freeze on it again, because this stone is behind the button, so you're going to leave a little bit of room to kill the end. Now it's going to require a perfect shot from Team Howard, but this could go both ways. I mean, this could end up being a great result for Gushue, and as he comes out to help with the brush, because this is decidedly not heavy.
This looks like it's barely going to get into the rings and maybe just touch the top of the 12 indeed. And once again, Team Gushue lets Team Scott Howard off the hook. Another miss from Mark Nichols, who just seems to be off by just a half of an inch. And Scott Howard with a golden opportunity now to really force the issue on Brad Gushue, who has 2 rocks to go and the hammer here in 7, but trailing 3-2.
Well, so now obviously you're invited to throw the exact same shot back yourself, and with the benefit of there being a stagger to hide underneath of. Now, the Gushue stone did stay far enough out that it may be runnable back onto the center, but it's going to require a real dandy of a shot to do it.
So Scott Howard readies for his final rock, or first rock, I should say here. Nearly 1,700 people tuning in to the broadcast here tonight. Make sure you stay tuned all weekend long to Curling Stadium for continuing coverage of the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic. Some of the best teams in the world playing for a purse of $106,000. This is big as Glenn Howard releases his first here of the 7th end. What a chance for Team Howard to get 2 under cover, be sitting pretty, looking to get some curl on this one, as well as a little bit of weight. That's Jason Cam. How far can he drag it? Looks like it will nearly touch the top of the 4. And is that a good spot, Dave, if you're Team Howard?
That's a very, very good spot. I think that Scott would think that his father Glenn would approve of the stone that he threw, but he probably wanted to get up a little bit further.
I know Glenn would certainly still want to be on the ice. As I mentioned, I chatted with him for my podcast just a couple of months ago, and he mentioned that still loves the game. It's just his body did not allow him to continue, but enjoying life still all around the game, golfs as much as he can. But Scott Howard in a good position here, up 3-2. Gushue preparing for his second to last rock.
Oh yeah, Gushue's in a tough spot here. He's definitely in the chase now for sure. So, big discussion on where you go here. Ultimately, you can make a play on what Scott just threw. Also, you probably do have a draw available on the opposite side, the left side, as we're looking at this shot.
Does that curl enough, Dave, do you think, past that yellow in the 12?
I think it does, because we saw the shot from Brad that even though it came up light, it was definitely coming in hard. So I certainly think that you can get there. The question is, do you get to a good enough spot where you don't have a short run coming back from Scott Howard?
Whatever he decides to do, Brad Gushue with his second to final rock here in the 7th end and continuing day 1 coverage. This is a big one for Team Gushue as they're trailing by 1 against Team Howard, who are trying to improve to 2-0 on day 1 and continue on the A side.
Certainly the easier path to be on for sure. You hate to fall into the B end. or the dreaded C rat race.
In the hack, as we see Brad Gushue made a dandy a couple of ends ago, facing 2 with a little hit and roll to the left for 1. He's going to have to make another beautiful shot here on his second to last rock. One of the best to do it. This is who you want in the hack when you need a big shot, and Brad Gushue needs it.
Certainly time to bear down and throw a good one, and that's what a 6-time Brier champion is expected to do. And I expect him to do it.
As he slowly readies his perfect routine and continues to get set for his second to final rock here in the 7th end, trailing 3-2 with hammer against Team Scott Howard. Out of the hack, upweight shot for Brad Gushue. Jeff Walker provides the brush, jumps on it out of the hack. Now he's sort of brushing it. What does Brad Gushue have here with his second to last? Straight nut on the one on the button. And Team Scott Howard, heading into Howard's final rock, continues to sit 1 behind 2 guards on the side of the button, right side.
Yeah, definitely not the most perfect result right there. So it's going to give Scott Howard an opportunity to really apply the pressure. I would think you just want to draw right back down here and on top of it and lock another one in for dear life.
So Scott Howard in the hack for his final rock here of the 7th end, a big one. Looking to come around his own green as well as the yellow and get right close to his rock sitting on the button. Scott Howard with his final. Tim March, Jason Cam have the brush. March waiting for the call from Matt Cam. A big shot indeed it is late in this game, as Howard looks to apply the pressure to Brad Gushue with his final rock.
Yeah, they need to get this one home. Question is, will they? Comes on up and finishes right there at the top of the 8-foot. So it is Howard's hitting 2.
Hello. So Brad Gushue, one final rock here. In the 7th end, a tough shot upcoming. Looks like an angle slash on that yellow onto green for Brad Gushue. The final rock with an opportunity perhaps, or will Scott Howard take a bigger lead heading into the 8th end? Let's find out. Brad Gushue with his final rock, 8th end, Henderson Meadow Fall Classic. Jeff Walker all over it. That one will eliminate 1 green. It will be 1 green for Scott Howard heading into the 8th end. Howard leads this game over Gushue. 4-2 coming home. Gushue will have hammer. Back in a moment, you're listening and watching to the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic, presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. Angle raise.
Yeah,
Welcome
it was-
to the YNCU Curling Center Henderson Medal Fall Classic presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario. My name is Darnell Duff. A pleasure to be joined by Dave Schmel. And what a turnout this game has been. Really fantastic, tight all game. And now, Dave, we've come down to the eighth end. Brad Gushue needs at least 2. Scott Howard trying to prevent him from getting that to remain on the A side.
Yeah, we saw some big shots out of Team Howard there and just a few half shots. And at this level, that's all it takes from Team Gushue to put the tide on the other side there. So now Gushue's going to have to throw the guards, and looks like they're going to throw 2 corners. Looks like they are going to play the split corners. I was talking with Jim Nix earlier today. Very personal whether you like to have split corners or stacked corners, but we're seeing that Brad's electing to have 2 sides to work with here.
Now, Dave, let me pose this question to you. With the news that Brendan Botcher will be joining Team Gushue moving forward, not in action this weekend, prior commitments, but there's so much background noise and so much negative background noise. I know these players are very, very mentally strong. With that being said, do you think that has any effect on the mental side right now? Maybe they're not thinking 100% clear, or do you think that has any effect or not really?
I would hate to think that that's affecting them yet. Obviously, it's been a lot of news, and I mean, frankly, the Team Gushue are the people who made the news. So if you're gonna make the noise, you have to deal with the chaff that comes with it. And they made the changes, dropping Harden and now picking up Bodger. So it's going to be a transition, and I'm sure they expected this to be something that they would have to deal with. You're one of the most successful teams in curling history, and when you guys make a big change, it's going to cause some waves, and we're going to talk about it. It's just. And everybody's going to have their opinion. Some people are going to be louder than others, and you're not always going to agree with every opinion, but that's why we get to have them, right?
Absolutely. So Jeff Walker with his final rock here in the 8th end. Gushue deliberating. What is it? Hit and roll over behind the corner guard. He was just speaking about maybe drawing around everything, but it looks like ultimately the call here will be hit and roll over to the corner guard. Is this something that you like?
I do like it. I like because you're gonna have to be aggressive here, and I think you're good enough to make this shot. Ultimately, you have to build 2, and easier way to build 2 is to try to act like you're playing for 3 years. So making this shot, and then once again, just not getting to where you had to get to.
Yeah, and not off by a whole lot, but off by just, as I've been mentioning, just a little off is going to affect the shot dramatically. And Jeff Walker just off a little bit there. So Team Gushue, as this end continues to go on, it's going to be tougher and tougher to try to generate 2 points, especially with how well Team Howard is playing right now. And all the credit in the world, Dave, to Team Howard, because they're not making it easy on Team Gushue whatsoever.
No, they certainly aren't. I mean, it's obviously they look up to Brad and everything, but these guys are all very accomplished in themselves. Let's not forget that, yeah, they haven't had the most success early on in the year, but this is a team that has shown in stretches that they can be extremely competitive, and we're seeing that right now tonight.
As Jason Cam says bye-bye to that yellow and the greens. In the process, we have an open house, and now Team Gushue will try to stir the pot and deliver one behind. On the screen, we are looking behind the right side corner guard.
Yeah, well, that's the scenario you set up. You know those peels are coming, and now you have your two corner guards. It's all about making this shot, and can Mark Nichols bury one effectively here?
Mark Nichols with the first of 3 here in the 8th end of the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic. This is day 1 coverage from the YNCU Curling Center. My name is Darnell Duff, pleased to be joined by Dave Schmel. Jeff Walker looking to get some curl now. Mark Nichols with the delivery. His weight has been off at times. Can he deliver in a big situation? Weight looks pretty good here. It's just a matter of if Jeff can get the curl.
They're going to get it under, and then it's well buried now. It does look like it's snuck just a little bit behind the T line here. So it'll be interesting to see. And Scott Howard, it does look like that he's going to chase it, because it's just, you can see just a sliver of it there.
And Matt Cam has been fantastic. A little bumper weight shot here coming up from Matt Cam, who's been brilliant all game long, being asked to once again. Tim March steps on that one, trying to keep it straight. Big shot upcoming here. A huge brush from Tim March, and no. That will wick off the guard and slide into the back portion of the rings. So Matt Cam can't come up clutch there. And now Team Gushue, an opportunity once again to draw behind the other corner guard as they try to maneuver themselves, find a way to get at least 2 points here in this 8th end, down by 2.
Oh, yeah, well, game on now. The little wick in the guard, and give him a chance to draw underneath the other guard now. This other guard is about 1.5 feet higher, so it's not going to be quite as effective as the first one. But we need another big shot out of Mark Nichols here. And the big brush by Walker.
Mark Nichols, 2nd of 3 rocks here in the 8th end. Team Gushue trailing by 2 points. Jeff Walker once again will look to move this one over behind that corner guard. Sitting 2. At this point, sitting second shot, I should say, is Team Gushue, and that one nicely behind the corner guard. So, Dave, Mark Nichols has been asked to make some big shots here in the 8th end, find that draw weight, and that is exactly what Mark Nichols has done.
Well, that's what you do as a pro. I mean, when it's time to suit up, you make that shot. Now, we get a quick look at the long shot. We can see what the angle is on this, and you can definitely see a piece of it, and you just might be able to bring your stone over at least in the vicinity of the other yellow rock. There's not really a double available per se, but you can get a big roll here.
Tim March right on it out of the hand. Last time he wanted to keep it straight. Now he's looking to make this one curl. March, can he move over the rock from Matt Cam? And he will just touch it, slide it over. Does it have enough to get out of the house? I do believe it does, if not just a biter. Great job from Cam, Dave, just to move that over as much as he actually did.
Yeah, that just did get there. It found its way over, worked over there with the sweeping. And now Gushue is going to elect to throw the double back here and try to get some separation again on the rocks.
Yeah, have to be careful with this one. Cannot afford to roll anywhere towards his yellow rock that's currently on the inside of the 12-foot. Jeff Walker jumps on that one right out of the hack. Can he keep this one straight? Enough to keep this in the house. Mark Nichols' shot will roll, and that will be out of the house. Mark Nichols with a big miss there in a big moment. And at the moment, Team Gushue does sit 1, but it looks like that yellow at the side of the 12 behind the T line is easily accessible for Team Howard.
Yeah, that stone is as wide open as a Saskatchewan prairie right now, and he's going to definitely be able to take a run at it. Now, you do this, you hit it, roll back on in, lie to, and it's going to be an uphill battle indeed for Brad Gushue to find a way to score 2.
So Team Scott Howard looking to hang on here. Howard's first rock is upcoming. Mark Nichols' first 2 shots in this end were fantastic. But the third one ultimately could be one of the daggers, because that was a tough miss and a tough time, wasn't it, Dave?
Yeah, it's just been the upweight shots that have just been a little bit off. The draws have been, for the most part, pretty good. It's just when down up that weight a little bit, it just hasn't been there yet. And they execute this hit, no problem by Scott Howard there.
Scott Howard has called a great game. His teammates have made some great shots, and now a chance for him to get his team one step closer to the A-side semifinals after a 10-1 win this morning. Scott Howard with his second to last here in the 8th end, leading by 2. Right out of the hand, Tim March all over this one once again. He backs it up. A beautiful job of sweeping. Coasting it in is Jason Cam with a little brush. Johnny on the spot. Perfect shot there from Scott Howard. Now, Dave, if you're Brad Gushue, you have to make your next 2 rocks count. What do?
Well, you had to hit and try to flop underneath that corner guard. That's all you have right now. And you just do it with a really, really, really quiet weight.
Brad Gushue with his last, looking to make this one curl. Will he be able to? No, he will not. He'll hit one, roll out, and you can put it in the books. Team Howard. Or it appears that yellow on the side of the 12 is still sitting or in the ring, so they're going to eliminate that one. And once they will, Team Howard will impressively move on into A-side event.
Yeah, it's just a matter of making sure at this point those 2 guards are definitely too far out to be split right now.
Scott Howard ready to deliver what should be his final rock here in the 8th end. Scott Howard, Tim March, Jason Cam. March will scrub that one in, eliminate this yellow, and you are moving on. Scott Howard will do just that. And Team Scott Howard, led by Matt Cam, Jason Cam, Tim March, and Scott Howard, the 2011 Canadian Junior Men's silver medalist and a 2012 World Men's Champion alternate, as well as a 2012 Brier Champion alternate, is continuing on in the A-side in Henderson Meadow Fall Classic play. What a gutsy performance, Dave, there from Team Howard.
No, absolutely. You saw a true team effort there, and it was just all about the little things. It wasn't necessarily anything spectacular, but like I like to say, they did all their blocking and tackling, and ultimately were able to take advantage of little miscues from their opponent to come out with a win in this one.
That's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Team Howard moves on into the A-side semifinal. 2 straight wins on day 1. Team Gushue drops their first game, and they will drop into the B-side. Thanks to our production team, which includes Jerry and Ryan Jakes. For Dave Schmel, I'm Darnell Duff, signing off from the Henderson Meadow Fall Classic. Team Scott Howard wins, presented by Kioti Tractors of Ontario.
Handcrafted in Canada, Hardline's ice pad has revolutionized curling for over a decade. Engineered with top-tier precision and durability, it is backed by an unmatched 10-year warranty. Designed for curlers at all levels to sweep effortlessly with maximum efficiency, it is trusted by the world's best curlers, including Olympic and world champions. It is quite simply the best brew in the game. Hardline. Join the revolution.